Hi, I'm Andrew Daniel, and I'm a domestic energy assessor. Since their inception in 2007, I've completed over 15,000 energy performance certificates, or EPC reports. And to be honest, for the first 10 years, nobody really cared. It was just like a checkbox that a solicitor had to do, or something that a letting agent had to get done before they rented out the property. However, since the introduction of MEES, the Minimum Energy Efficiency Standard, on the 1st of April 2020, people are now taking more notice because you have to be E or above in order to rent your property out, unless you've got an exemption certificate. And I'm getting a lot of questions from people as to why their EPC they've had to renew because it's expired after 10 years has gone down. So we'll have a quick look at the top 5 reasons why your EPC may have gone down. Number 1. The original EPC was incorrect. So this was the original EPC that I went to do another one on because it had expired. It was for a rental property in a little Cornish village called Mevagissey. As you can see, the rating was 68, actually only 1 point off a C69. So for down here, a very good rating. So I went along, did my survey, and this is what happened. As you can see, this is a result of my survey, and it's F22. It's actually only 2 points above being a G. So let's see what the difference was between the original EPC and the EPC that I did. So just bring up the breakdown of the property's energy performance, and you see the highlighted section now, main heating. The original assessor put down boilers and radiator mains gas, which actually was boiler and radiators LPG, liquid petroleum gas, and it was actually gas bottles. I don't know how you managed to miss that, but that's very, very poor. So obviously that did bring the rating down as well. You might also notice that it does say cavity wall as built, no insulation, because there's no evidence I could find. The owner had no evidence of the cavities being filled, so that would bring it down a little bit as well, but the main reason was the heating. Number 2, change of evidence required. The EPC conventions that we have to follow change and get updated regularly. For example, over the years we have been required to do extra checks such as measure double glazing glass thickness, add party wall lengths and construction, etc. in order to get a more accurate result. This can move the results up and down a fraction. It won't be a great deal, but it will be a little bit. If you look at the right hand side here of this one, it will basically show you obviously the dates have all been updated, so they do get updated on a regular basis. One of the main changes with regard to conventions is to do with a room in the roof. In the past, we were able to add the date that the room in the roof was added into the software, and that would put all the insulation in relative to those building regs. So for example, if you had a 1963 bungalow and in 2005 you added a room in the roof, the software would default to the 2005 building regulations and insert all the insulation into the eaves or any other accesses that we couldn't see in accordance with the 2005 building regulations, which would be quite good. However, the conventions now say that we have to prove the build date. So if you've done it yourself or recently bought the property and have no paperwork, then we have to enter the conversion as the original build date of the property. So in this case, the EPC would show no insulation for the room in the roof, as it was to be entered on the software as being completed in 1963. The evidence we require is quite strict. We're not allowed to accept third-party photographs or hearsay. It's all very well somebody saying, yes, I'll put the insulation in the wall, tap it, it's there. But we actually have to prove it because it is a legal certificate. So you need something like a building control completion certificate or an invoice from a reputable builder. Number 3, changing the heating type. As before with the mains gas versus LPG scenario, heating plays a big part of the EPC rating. I've had customers who have spent thousands updating the property only to find out that they have in fact decreased their rating. A couple of examples I've had is where someone replaced their oil boiler with a brand new LPG one and went from an E to a G. Another common scenario is when the storage heaters are replaced with all singing and all dancing app-controlled electric heaters costing hundreds of pounds each. However, these would also bring the EPC rating down because although they are very efficient, they only use peak rate electricity and have no storage facilities. Electric boilers also rate poorly because rather than looking at the actual efficiency at point of use, of which electric heaters always get 100%, EPC ratings are more concerned with the base unit cost of energy, so therefore storage heaters using off-peak electric will always rate better. Number 4, the evidence that we can get on the day or that's available. Another reason for a lower EPC rating than the previous document is the lack of documentary evidence available at the time of the new EPC. It is important to remember that the EPC is not an exact representation of the energy efficiency of a property, but it is in fact a representation of the energy efficiency of a property of what the assessor could document on the day of the survey. So as an example, you have a 1963 property which the previous EPC stated that cavities have been filled, which improves the EPC. But since then, the property has been rendered, so the drill holes are no longer visible, and if you don't possess a certificate or other documentary evidence, then the insulation for the wall will be entered on the system as built, which means it will revert to the building regulations at the time. In 1963 there weren't any, so it would assume no insulation. Another thing to remember is that the EPC is a visual survey, so the assessor will not be drilling walls etc. to check for insulation, so it's very important that you do have documentary evidence to hand, such as cavity wall insulation guarantees, building control or fence certificates for the windows. A SAP or on construction new build EPC versus an RD SAP EPC that's produced for house sales and rentals by domestic energy assessors. The SAP EPC is much more detailed and precise than the RD SAP EPC because this uses the precise performance of each thermal element of the building, etc., the walls, floor, roof, etc., and it's calculated using the manufacturer's specifications. If you can see on the left hand side there it says the average thermal transmitted 0.29, so that's the actual exact rating for the wall, whereas on the right hand side you'll see it says cavity wall as built insulated, and that's using the building regulations at the time, but it uses the minimum required at that time. So if for instance a new build was built to a higher standard than the minimum required, that will get a good SAP rating, whereas the new EPC that was done on the RD SAP software, that would assume the minimum building regulations, so it would be slightly lower than the original SAP, because obviously the insulation added would be slightly lower. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that and it gave you an idea of what's involved. It's quite a difficult subject to condense down into a short video. If you need more information, please leave a comment in the section below. We can always make more videos, for example on the SAP versus the EPC. There's a lot more detail we can go into that one. But please do stay tuned, subscribe, give us a like button, it does help. We've got some great videos coming up. We've got one on leasing and the risk assessments, what you need to do as a landlord on that. We've got the exemption certificates explained as well coming out shortly. So as I say, hope you enjoyed it and see you on the next one. Goodbye.